All right, crew. Let's get going here. Today we're gonna talk a little bit more about inheritance. We're gonna start to get into a little bit more real world applications of inheritance. You know, we've been talking about the different types of reproduction, asexual versus sexual reproduction. But now we're going to start to get into where we get the traits that we possess, why we look like we look, why we talk like we talk, how we act like we act, and we're going to start to get into a little bit more about what we actually inherit. And today we're going to start with learning about what we call the different traits, different options um, for the traits that our genes code for. We're going to take a look at eye color as an example, and then we're gonna do an activity where we're going to try and predict. We're going to try and predict what the potential gene combinations, the potential traits are for some kids. So first thing I want to do is I want to let me get my screen really going here. First, like I said, this is a little bit more of a real world application here. You can think about it like this. You know, if you look at your parents, if you look at your grandparents, you can see certain traits that they have that they see in you, and that can be a fun a fun activity to just compare. But you can also use this to try and predict health outcomes. You can look at the genes that you've inherited and potential genes that maybe a future partner has inherited, and look at what the potential health outcomes of your kids could be. So this is something that can have some real life application here. You kind of assume, okay, I look like a combination of my parents, and you probably do. But you can, if you have siblings, you can see that you guys, unless you're identical twins, and we even have some fraternal twins in the class that don't look identical. So you kind of say, well, we're a combination. And some people look very close, very similar to their parents. Some people not quite so much. Um, Let me ask you a question. Do you think that a set of twins can be black and white? Twins, not adopted, born to the same parents. Um, yeah, it's a pretty interesting idea that it is possible. If you take a look at this article here, and I'll let you skim it real quick. There isn't a lot of real scientific information in the article, but it is pretty interesting that you've got a set of twins where one is black and one is white. So I'll give you a minute to kind of skim the article. All right, way to skim really quickly. You guys are really good readers. But you can see here that we've got this set of twins. And if we look at the family here, we definitely don't need to subscribe to the New York Post. But if we look at the whole family here, we can see that mom and dad here, you can see that the kids all look like kind of a combination. I think the boys look pretty similar, kind of right in the middle of mom and dad. I'd say that these two girls look more like mom, and obviously this gal over here, she's kind of on the other side of dad. She's got some pretty extreme traits that don't really look like either of them. Yet they're all blood related. These are all the biological children of these two. So how does that happen? How could that happen? Let's talk about it. So let's go back over here. So how are our traits? How do our traits come to be? How do we get those traits? Like we've talked about, you inherit a set of genes from mom, a set of genes from dad, and there's a word that we use to describe those different options, the different options a trait can take. So I want you to watch this video. It's a short video. I want you to watch it and pay attention. That's the main takeaway as we introduce this idea of inheritance. So take a look at this video.
Welcome to Moo Math and Science. In this video, I'd like to talk about an allele. Gregor Mendel is considered the father of genetics. He was famous for studying pea plants. As he studied the plants, he noticed that for different characteristics like seed shape, there would be different forms. These characteristics became known as traits. Traits are characteristics that can be passed from one generation to another. A gene is a portion of DNA that contains the genetic code for the trait. Genes are located on chromosomes. Humans have 23 pairs of chromosomes for a total of 46. For each trait, you get some of the information from mom and some from dad. As a result, you may inherit different forms of the same trait. These different forms are alleles. Let's go back to Mendel and his pea plants. Notice that for each trait, there are different forms. The color of the flower can be white or purple. The pea plant can be tall or short. For all 7 traits, each trait has a different form. These would be examples of alleles, different forms of the same gene. Let's look at an analogy. Think of an emoji. The trait is the emoji. The different forms of the same trait are the alleles. How about a couple more real-life examples? Eye color would be the trait. The different forms of eye color would be the alleles. The trait is having hair. Having black or blonde hair is the alleles. Your height would be the trait. If you are 6 feet or 5 feet tall would be the alleles. Alleles, different forms of the same gene.
All right. So that word there, allele, I've highlighted here, which is a hint, might come up again in your digital glossaries. So as we've discussed, genes, those little segments of DNA in our cells code for different traits, okay? And as the video just said, the different options for a specific trait are called an allele. That's our main takeaway today, okay? Allele. This is the different options for a specific trait, okay? Every organism has 2 alleles. Every organism that sexually, every organism that reproduces sexually has 2 alleles for a trait. One from mom, one from dad. One allele will hang out on one chromosome, and then the other allele will hang out on the other chromosome of the parent, okay? So again, each parent passes one allele down to their offspring. And this is really important. I'm going to say this. So I'm going to have one of you guys read this right now. And we're going to keep seeing this over pretty much every day for the next 5 lessons. We're going to see this come up again, okay? So I want somebody to read this, right? Okay, go ahead. Which allele is passed is a random process. Very good. Exactly. It's a random process. Every time the alleles pass from mom and dad down to the kids, it is random. And you're going to see that a little bit more clearly later and then over the next few days. All right. So I'm not sure if you guys were aware. I don't know if you guys heard. I know you guys just did Aladdin over in language arts. You guys were just reading Aladdin. But after, Aladdin was made sultan, the pressure was just too much and things kind of fell apart with him and Jasmine. I know. They're still good friends. Don't worry. They're still very good friends. But he ended up on a vacation, getting out of the Middle East, getting out of the desert. He went up north, up to Scandinavia, and he met this young lady, Elsa, who you guys might recognize, and they ended up hitting it off, and they actually got married, and they've had a whole bunch of kids. One of their kids, I don't know if you knew this, was Dora. I know, you guys, Dora's got her own show, but she's an actress. I mean, that's just a show. In real life, she's Elsa and Aladdin's daughter. And here you can see Elsa has 2 sets of genes from her parents. Aladdin's got 2 sets of genes from his parents. And Dora here, Dora inherited 1 set from each of them. In Dora's case, she kind of looks a little bit more like Aladdin than Elsa, but you can see she's got, Elsa's little button nose there. She also has some magic powers, it seems, like mom. Dad doesn't really have magic powers. So she's inherited some stuff from mom, but feature-wise, she looks a lot more like dad. And that's because she inherits from both of them. And we're going to see why some of those traits are going to be stronger from on one side than the other. Okay. So here you can see, so we're going to take a look at their potential kids' eye color. So here you can see Elsa's inherited two sets of alleles, one allele, two alleles, both for blue eyes from her parents. Aladdin, his eyes, he inherited one brown and a second brown eye allele from his parents. So obviously he's got brown eyes, she's got blue eyes. But when they pass their alleles down, again, one from each parent, you can see their kids. So let's say this is Dora and this is Aladdin Jr. over here. You can see that they each have one from each of them. Brown eye allele from dad, blue eye allele from mom, blue eye allele from mom, brown eye allele from dad. And I colored the box in brown because even though they have a brown and a blue, in both cases, the kids got brown eyes. And you might be saying, well, why? How do I know that? If they have both, why do they have brown eyes? Well, that's because certain traits, certain alleles are stronger, are dominant. They are dominant versus the weaker allele, which is recessive. And I'm introducing these words today, and you're going to learn them. We're going to go over them a little bit today, but really tomorrow we're going to focus a little bit more on dominant versus recessive. Today I'm really more focused on explaining that you've got these different options, these different alleles. But in order to really understand this, you need to know that one tends to be stronger than the other. Okay, so in this case, brown eyes is dominant to blue eyes. Okay, so if you have two brown eye alleles, brown eyes. If you have a brown eye and a blue eye allele, that dominant brown is going to overtake blue, as you can see here. That's why they have brown. And in order to have blue eyes, you need to have two sets of the recessive blue allele, like Elsa over here. All right. Again, brown are dominant, blue are recessive. Green's kind of a combo. We're going to pretend green eyes don't exist for today. Okay. You have green eyes, pretend they're brown today. All right. We're gonna pretend green eyes don't exist. We're gonna kind of simplify things and just keep it binary, keep it black or white, or I should say brown or blue. All right, one or the other. Be aware though. Be aware. Even though we're simplifying things, it's not nearly this simple that you have one gene that codes for one specific trait. It's actually tends to be a combination, multiple genes that will contribute to each trait. But again, for the sake of learning this, we're gonna simplify. All right. So when we do this, when we try and figure these things out, when we try and predict these things, what we do is we assign specific traits a letter. So what we're going to look at here is whether or not Elsa and Aladdin's kids possess magical powers. And we're going to assign the magical power trait the letter A. And we're going to say that not having magical powers, not being magic, not possessing magic is dominant. So we're going to give that a capital A. And we're going to say that if the allele for having magic powers, the recessive allele, is the lowercase a, little a. Okay, so big A for no magic, the dominant allele, little a magic, the recessive allele. And you can see Elsa, again, recessive, got to have two. There's Elsa over here, magic powers. Here's Aladdin, he has a big A and a little a. So the big A overpowers, kind of cancels out that little a. So Aladdin is a carrier. He carries the allele for magic powers, doesn't have magic powers himself. Okay, can't do anything. He needs Genie. He needs his magic carpet to do anything magical. Elsa, on the other hand, abracadabra, wiggle of the nose, magic. All right. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to do an activity now where you guys are going to share this screen, this tab here. You guys are going to find out whether or not Aladdin and Elsa's kids have magic powers. All right. So here you can see a chart with Aladdin and Elsa's other kids. All right. We met Dora before. I mean, you guys already know Dora, but you found out a little while ago that that's actually Aladdin's and Elsa's daughter. They have three other kids. Their oldest son they named Aladdin Jr., just keeping with tradition, nice and easy. Their next daughter was Dora. The daughter younger than that, the next daughter down, they named after, Genie, obviously, important guy in Aladdin's life. So they named their next daughter Genie with the J. And then for their little boy, their youngest, they named him after Olaf. Elsa felt that she needed to name a boy after Olaf, so they named him Ollie. So what you're gonna do for Aladdin Jr., Dora, Genie, and Ollie is you're gonna flip a coin for each parent's contribution, for each parent's allele contribution. When you flip the coin, heads is a big A. If the coin comes up heads, that means it's big A, which is dominant. Like I said before, it's dominant for no magic powers. You don't have magic powers if you flip A. Okay. If you get a tails, you put in a little a. That's the recessive allele. Tails is little a is the recessive allele for magic powers. And then you're going to take what you find here, and you're going to put them together over here under the child's genes column. And then you're going to look at those combinations, and you're going to tell me, does that child have magic powers or not have magic powers? Okay. And then we're going to compare. We'll compare everybody's results. Okay. I'm going to let you do the flipping in class. You can think about it, and tomorrow when you get in, we'll compare whether or not they have magic powers. All right. So what you're going to do is you're going to flip for each parent, and then fill in the next two columns. All right. You all have your coins. You ready to flip? You're going to flip for Elsa first. Yeah. You guys want to flip for Elsa first? Do you need to flip for Elsa first? Do you need to flip the coin for Elsa? What do you think? Well, let's look. Look at Elsa's alleles. Little a, little a. Do we need to flip? Right. She doesn't have a big A to give. So you can't flip for Elsa. If you flip heads and it comes up big A, it doesn't matter. She doesn't have a big A. She only has little A's. So you can right off the bat get started. I'll start you off, all right? Elsa only has little A's. But you can flip for Aladdin because he's got two different alleles here. He's got a big A and a little a. He's got a dominant and a recessive. So you're going to flip for Aladdin. You're going to put them in here, and then you're going to combine the two here, and then you're going to tell me yes or no, do they have magic powers? And then again, we're going to compare. We're going to compare tomorrow and see what everybody got. And you'll see this is what shows you that this is a random process because we'll all have different results here. Okay, we're going to probably all have a different combination of who has and does not have magic powers. All right. One more thing before you get going with that, though. Let me come back over here, and what we're going to do. I got a word for your digital glossaries here. The next word for your digital glossaries. We had we had 2 or 3 words last week. This is word number 4. So you're going to add allele to your digital glossary. You're going to define it. You're going to put a definition in your own words. You're going to come up with an example for it, and then you're going to give me a picture that represents that example. All right. So that's the homework. That and finishing up this gene chart. Okay, coming up with this. So I'm going to let you do as much as you can now, and whatever you don't finish, you're going to take home, and we'll discuss tomorrow. All right. Any questions? All right, good. I'm not going anywhere. I'm here. So if anybody has any questions, you just let me know, and I'll let you with the last 5 or 6 minutes get started with that. All right. All right. Get going. All right, guys. So I'm getting some questions about exactly how to structure your digital glossary entry. So like I said, the word from today, it's going to be allele. So you write the word allele right here. This is an example I made up. So you'd write the word here where I put the word mandolin. And then you're going to define the word in your words. And remember, I can Google very easily, copy and paste into Google to see whether or not you just took that definition right off the internet. then you're going to find a picture to represent it, and then you're going to give me an example. You're going to use it in an example. And this is really the important one. This is the one that I'm most interested to see if that you really understand the word, is that you can use it in context. So here, I used mandolin. Word, an 8-string fretted instrument. Easy definition, but that doesn't really tell me anything. Doesn't tell me that I know what a mandolin is. Threw a picture up there, but again, easy enough. Okay, but what does that mean? So I put down here that Dr. Pizer likes playing bluegrass music on the mandolin. That tells me that you understand that a mandolin is an instrument used for playing music, and not only that, but it's used for playing bluegrass music. So you see how you're putting it in context, not just that it's a instrument, but that it's an instrument that's used in bluegrass music. Okay, so you see how you're putting that together. So that's what I really want to emphasize here. It's very important that your example really show me that you guys have an understanding of what the word means. All right. So if you finish the coin flipping early, you can get started on this. But again, this is the ongoing list of words. I've got the word in the Google Classroom. I've got a Google Doc with all the words so far. This is, I think, the 4th word we've added for this unit. And again, don't forget, this is a good chunk of your end of unit grade with the end of unit project. You're going to hand this in for about 50% of that project. Okay. So like I said, if you're done flipping early, you can get started on this.